The John LeBang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John LeBang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. The banger is on the microphone. Another week of sonic vibrations is headed your way. Brought to you by yours truly, broadcasting from the Banger Studios, somewhere hidden in the world where most people won't be able to find us. That's probably a good thing with some of the hate mail that I've received in the past few weeks. It's better that I don't get people who want to find me or I'm unable to be found. Boy, we've had a lot of things happen this past week, not only with world events and leaders doing this and that. We also had a lot on our plate here at the John LeBang Show. And in our personal life, it's been rather busy, to say the least. So we have a filled 2 hours actually. We're so loaded with things to talk about that I don't know if both hours of this week's broadcast are going to be able to fit all the stuff I want to talk about in. And yeah, we can get to the news like Trump pulling us out of the Paris Agreement for the climate change. We'll get to that at some point. Not really sexy for me right now. I know a lot of people are talking about it. There's other subjects we're going to get to as well. But I've been so busy, as I was lamenting just a few seconds ago. I've been so busy that I blew it this year, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so behind on certain things like gardening. My poor garden has got no attention. I didn't even get it in yet, or barely. I've been struggling this last week to start getting my crops in, and I'm way behind. I'm not going to have a massive harvest like I would on a normal year. And that was really because my mind has been on 4,000 different things going all over the place, that to get to something like that, even cutting the grass is tough, but getting to planting my garden, which I probably need some of that time to get my soul in order, to get my John back, because I'm so busy that I don't have any, R&R time per se, to just enjoy some of the simpler things in life. But this garden thing's a big deal because I live on this stuff. Some people would have called me a prepper for a little while there, and even I considered myself at some point a prepper. I'm not as much as a prepper as I used to be, and that's due to a whole lot of circumstances. But one thing that was for certain is John would have his garden in, and he'd be gardening, and he'd have tomatoes and cucumbers and all kinds of yummy vegetables come, August, and late July, August, right? Well, it's probably not going to happen in at least late July because I'm just getting them in. And even before the show, I went out and I had to grab seeds because either at this time of the year, because it is a little later, being June, you're already supposed to have your garden in, but being June at this point, all the bulk rates, all the flat rates on plants, they're gone. You can't find them. I went to my favorite place to get some, little starter plants over there, and they were all out, gone. See ya. Went to another place, gone. You can head over to the Home Depot and go there if you want and pay $6 for one plant, which is ridiculous. especially since that plant's only survived there at that store because it got past the little seedling stage, and then it got past the next stage, and they kept raising the price as it got bigger. So I was mad at myself, and I am a little bit mad at myself for falling behind on something like that, because that's an important subject. That's not just like, going to a concert, which I did a few of those things last month. And now I'm mad at myself for going out and having a couple days of good times, and it wasn't that much, but it definitely took time away from something more important like, feeding myself, putting that garden in, because the garden actually gives me a little bit more relaxation and I get in tune with the world better than, like, say, a concert. I enjoy concerts. I've been to a hell of a lot. But the garden is an important thing, not only for, to feed me, because I can be a vegetarian all summer if you let me. If my garden is rocking and rolling, I'll eat salad every day. I'll eat tomatoes all the time. I'll have tomato sandwiches for days. It's like a drug. And when the season is over, I'm like going through withdrawals for tomato sandwich. Come Christmas, I'm like, I want a tomato sandwich, and you can't have it because the store-bought tomatoes are nowhere near as good as something fresh out of the garden. So I have that on my plate that I've got to hightail it and get in gear. And that's what I'm going to do after the show today, is I'm going to go work out in the garden. And I'm going to do that the rest of the weekend and through the week when I can. And I'm going to just focus on that. And it's hard because we've got the radio broadcast to do. And we do some studying on that. And we read up on what's going on so we know what we're talking about here on the show. And then I have, a business that I'm running. It's a little startup business. And we're working on building that thing. And now the clients are starting to roll in. And well, you gotta do the work if you start a business, right? And then I have my other day job that's supplementing all this, and hopefully, we can lose that real soon, and we're gonna have to drop something real soon to fit in time for the increased business on the business I started, and And we're also thinking about doing a third hour here on the John LeBang Show. But we can't do a third hour right now because we're so busy with 2 hours and trying to promote it and trying to, expand our affiliates network here. We're rocking already with 20 affiliate networks and 34 stations that are playing the John LeBang Show almost every day of the week. And I believe, yes, every day of the week. And there's like days like Monday and Wednesday that you can hear us almost all day somewhere. All you have to do is tune in. Of course, you can go to our website to find out where we're playing, what times we're playing, and on what station. And if you miss a broadcast, and you go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I blew it. I missed the broadcast. Well, that's okay. Because you can go to the website, www.jlebang.com, and get the broadcast there. If you can't sit for a whole hour, we got snippets of what's going on the show that you can sit in and go, hey, not too bad. So we're behind on the garden, and I'm going to really put some time in this weekend, and I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I'm not going to even receive a crop till like late August now, and that's maybe some of the things like zucchini will crop up and pop up sooner, and I'll have some of those. But you can only have so many zucchini. Girls like zucchini, maybe, other kinds of zucchini, but you can only have so much zucchini, and you're pretty tired of it. In fact, that's one of the few things I've already got in. I found some time to put one in. I did a little bit on the starters. I fell behind. It was so cheap to buy starters, right? It was so cheap to buy starters last year that I says, you know what, I'm not going to even, I'm just going to keep my seeds. Well, I forgot to seed my tomatoes at the end of the season last year because, again, I was busy. There's just not enough time. And so because I forgot to do that, I had no seeds for this year, so I go, oh, that's okay. I can just get starters. Well, I waited too long to get starters like a dork, like a dummy. Yeah, I can tell you this: it'll never happen again. See, when I'm stupid, when I realize that I messed up somewhere, when I screwed up, it never happens again because I focus on that. That'll be on my agenda. That'll be at the top of the list now. That just moved up because it got bumped down the list for some reason. All the other things kept popping in there, work and this and that and the other thing that I got moved down the list, and then I never got to it. Well, it's getting done, and it's going to be getting done as a priority next year. It's probably in the top 4 or 5 things to be done next year. Are you guys like that? When you find out you screwed up, when you messed up really bad, does that become a priority that you never do it again? Or do you just blow it off? Well, I screwed up. What? No big deal. No big deal. To me, I take it to heart when I blow something, especially something important. I get mad about it, and I make sure I never do it again. I mean, typically that's how we learn in life anyways, is by screwing up. But, I took it to heart this year. I'm telling you that there's no way I'm going to fall behind on my garden ever again. And in fact, I'm considering, and I've been considering, and it depends on what we're going to do with the studios here. If we're going to stay in this building, or if we're going to maybe attempt a move come the wintertime. We haven't decided yet. There's been some discussion that we some thought, I should say, more than discussion, on where we're going to be as far as a location for the John LeBang Show come the wintertime and beyond. Although we've got the studios rocking. I mean, they're as good as they've ever been, where we look awesome. You can... we're going to be posting some pictures of the studio shortly. One of our affiliates out there in Las Vegas asked to have all the hosts out there, or all the hosts on the stations, include pictures of their studios. And I was like, sure. You know what? We're going to do that after the show as well. It's only going to take a few minutes to take a few shots of the studio here. And I think that's a great idea. You get to see how everybody works. If they have a messy studio, if they have a, full of equipment and stuff like that, you're going to find out actually when you get to see the pictures that we're running on we're running on a very, compact little studio here. It looks big. It looks great. In fact, I don't want to brag too much, but when you see the visuals of our studio when we're doing the YouTube videos, no one else can match it. None of my, there's some cool stuff. A lot of people have cool studios, but nobody's got the TVs rocking behind them with the videos popping up there behind them. Nobody's got the graphics going on like the John LeBang Show and what we do on our YouTube channel. In fact, we've been slacking on that too. So much has been happening that we're falling a little bit behind on the YouTube. And we're doing so well there. That's one of our best mediums. People love us on YouTube, and we got to get back to doing a few things. We did this little project thing, and I'm thinking of making this a regular thing on my YouTube channel. We did a project where we cleaned out the garage and we filmed it, and it turned out great because I was doing one-liners and we're ripping things down. It just was cool. And you see all these project shows on mainstream television, and they can't say what the banger can say because he's on YouTube. He can say whatever he wants. And so we did the first little filming there, and it was great. And all we have to do is edit it. But we're going to do more of these projects because now that we've fallen behind on things, we're going to show you how to catch up on things. And that should be fun. And that'll also get us back into doing some YouTube videos, which we really, that's really, since at least before this year, before we got picked up by that big network out there, YouTube was one of our biggest forums. We had the most listenership on there. We have a lot of subscribers on there, at least more people that we know are watching it and that follow us, and we actually, are involved in conversations after the video's put out than we have on some of the radio stations and such. It's just a good forum for the John LeBang Show, and that's because we produce videos. A lot of my peers out there don't actually produce videos. I mean, they might do the Facebook Live, but, I don't know about you guys, but the Facebook Live seems cheesy to me. It's not quite the same. Maybe it's just, I don't know. I don't want to criticize people who are doing it, but I haven't got the feeling that it's something awesome out that I mean, I think it's going to be a fad. People are going to lose the love for the Facebook Live eventually, but who knows? Anyways, folks, I've rambled on for the first quarter of the first hour this week. We've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss climate change, Donald Trump, and the Paris Accords. Stay tuned. Don't think about touching that dial.
That would be a mistake.
The John LeBang Show will be right back after this. That's guaranteed, man. Like some good Thai stick. If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-'70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now. You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
It's hydroponic radio for your brain, man. Feel smarter yet? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. As this Paris Accord thing gets dropped by Trump, he's going to pull us out of the deal. We see a lot of those climate change freakers, those people who think climate change is man-made, is going to blame it on you and me and everybody else who's driving a vehicle that is powered by fossil fuel. I keep wondering, do these people even know what they're talking about? I mean, I've covered this subject extensively. So much so that my regular listeners are probably sick and tired of me talking about this subject. And I apologize to them. But it's a big, big political subject. And it's something that means a great deal to me because I study the weather. I'm not some meteorologist like your mainstream manufactured news meteorologist. I didn't go to school to study it and all that. I learned it on my own, like I did most of the things I've done in my life. I picked up books and I educated myself. If I had questions, I figured it out. I asked somebody. I didn't go to some school to teach me how to read weather maps or understand what a barometer was or what barometric pressure actually is. I just went out and learned it. People, of course, don't give you much credit when you don't have that piece of paper from some university that they paid for to teach them the knowledge, and hopefully they taught them the correct things, not the politically correct things, but the correct things. Yet we have a whole bunch of people, 150 mayors are mad at Mr. Trump for pulling out of the Paris Accords, or whatever they're called, the climate change treaty or attempted treaty that Barack Hussein Obama couldn't even get passed because there's no will for it here in the United States. You may be able to, fool third world countries into believing mankind's bad and we're polluting the environment, and in some ways we are. But to the point of changing the climate, not you and me, anybody listening to this broadcast, what minuscule effect you impose on the environment is nothing. When you look at people like Barack Hussein Obama and Al Gore, who fly to and fro here and there for every little speech they can about climate change, dishing out way more carbon emissions than any 1, 2, 3, maybe 50 of us, maybe 60, 70 of us would ever do. They do in one day, and we don't even do that in a year. You could put a whole bunch of us together, probably my whole neighborhood and the neighborhood over. We don't put out the emissions that Barack Hussein Obama does, and I'm sure some of my neighbors put out way more emissions than I do. In fact, I think I'm emissions negative, or I don't know how they term that, but I think I put out more oxygen and better things for the environment than I harm the environment. Except maybe this year because I'm way behind on my planting my garden and stuff. And I keep thinking to myself, I need to bring some of these people who actually think it's my fault and your fault on the show and talk to them, interview them, ask them questions. And I wonder if there's anyone out there who's a climate change believer, that man-made climate change is a problem. If there's anyone out there listening, you want to come on the show, I'd be happy to sit down and discuss with you. We're not going to debate. We're not going to filibuster. We'll make some clear rules, and we'll discuss, and I'll ask questions, and I'll see if you really know what you're talking about. Because what I've found from the people who believe in climate change, by great numbers, vast numbers, maybe 70, 75% of them don't have a single clue how long we've even been calculating the temperature and weather. How long we've been keeping track of temperatures on this planet. Now you, my longtime listeners, will know because I've gone over it, 12, 13, 14, 17, 100 times. Who knows how many times I've discussed the subject of climate change. I would bet another 70, 80% of them, somewhere in that range, have no clue that the Cretaceous period, even if they knew what the Cretaceous period was, which I highly doubt most of them even know that, but even if they do know what the Cretaceous period is, if they even knew what the carbon output was, the carbon in the air was, the temperatures, what the temperatures were then, because worldwide, our average temperature is in the upper 60s at best. Worldwide! That's the average temperature of the planet. Not too bad. That's like springtime weather. Now here in Michigan, and this is what gets me too, because I don't even understand how people here in Michigan can even accept the notion that climate change is man-caused. Because here in Michigan, we deal with so many variances, so many different weather conditions in a 6-month period, it could stagger the imagination of people who live in a fairly stable environment. I mean, if you're on some island somewhere and the only time you see weather besides beautiful sunny days are when a hurricane comes rolling in, you don't know what's up. And you're going to think, oh my God, the world's coming to an end because there's a hurricane headed for my island. The people here in Michigan, we can deal with 100-degree days, 105. We've seen them. 105 degrees, humidity in the 90%. I mean, it's killer hot and killer humid. And just going outside, you start sweating. You lose, it's like a sauna right off the bat. And going outside for more than 10 minutes means you're going to lose weight. Then 6 months later, we could have a polar vortex come flying down from the north and shoot us up with minus 40-degree weather with wind chills up into the minus 50 and 60-degree range. So you're talking a variance of maybe possibly 140 degrees or better in a 6-month period here in Michigan. And we survive. A couple of us can't hack it and die off. But people, sorry to say, pass away every single day from varying reasons. So I understand the people in the environments, like in the tropics, or even in California, lower California, or even people up in the Seattle region there, who have, because I live there, outside of rain, lots of it, they have a fairly stable environment. I mean, if I remember correctly, there's maybe a 50-degree swing in temperature on the extremes. Their hottest day in the summer versus their coldest day in the winter. Here in Michigan, it's like 140, 150-degree swing. And we can see 2 feet of snow without any problem. We can see rain for days where we flood out. And it's been happening this way for my whole life. And it's been happening ever since we've been keeping track of it. So when the people freak out over the climate issue, and I mean, there's people all over the media right now, all over the mainstream media, just freaking out. This is the end of the world. Us pulling out of the Paris Treaty there, Paris Accords there. It's the end of the world to these people. Why? What's it going to do? All these years we've been attempting to lower the CO2 levels. We barely made a dent. And in fact, we made progress in that, and we ain't making a dent. Everything we've done, we're barely making a dent. It's mankind's fault. And the killer to all this is, we're running out of time here before we got to go to the next break. The killer in all this is that it's not the man-made global warming by the little guy that's the problem. The climate change from us little people. Like, it's not us causing it. If there are men and women, if there is people doing it, it's the governments of the world who are geoengineering the planet, who are throwing those chemtrails all over the skies there. That's not mandated by the people. That has nothing to do with oil. That has nothing to do with cows farting. We're supposed to believe that it's us little people and the way we live, and because we use fossil fuels to power the motor vehicles that we need to survive in this modern world, we're supposed to believe it's all our fault, climate change, when there's 200 years at best of keeping track, accurate records, that is, of keeping track of temperatures. Go look at when the actual thermometer was developed. Because we weren't keeping track of temperatures. We were just saying it's going to be cold tomorrow. Back in the day, they didn't talk about it's going to be 40 degrees tomorrow morning. We might have a low of 24 with snow. They'd go, you know what? Calendar says it's January. That means it's cold. And it's probably going to be cold tomorrow. And if it's warm, we're damn lucky. Because back then, they didn't have furnaces to keep them warm. They were lucky to have fireplaces and candles. We're the most adaptable species ever existed on this planet. That has ever existed on this planet. We survive all types of weather conditions on all parts of the world. Yet, because some kind of accord brought to you by all the governments, the leaders of the world, who none of us should trust in the first place, say, we need to be part of this, and one guy pulls us out, you get mad at him, you freak out, the end of the world is... No, it's not. Go look back at what Mr. Al Gore's first movie, that Inconvenient Truth or whatever the hell that idiot put out. We're supposed to be dead by now. We're supposed to be gone. Floods and everything, you know. I guess President Obama saved us from that. Anyways, folks, we're long this segment. Check out our sponsors. And when we return, we'll continue on with the John LeBang Show.
Don't go anywhere. The John LeBang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As this hour is already zooming on by, we're going to come back to the climate change maybe a little bit later, but I want to talk about some other events happening that you should be aware of and that the mainstream manufactured news seems to be, either avoiding or they're not giving it the attention it deserves as far as I'm concerned. We just moved, and that's Donald Trump and the United States military might just moved a third carrier strike group near North Korea. So now we have 3 major carrier groups out in North Korea. You moved the first one out there to give Kim Ding Dong over there a little reminder that we're paying attention to him. You move the second one out there because, he's still acting up. He doesn't seem to be afraid of you, which means he might have something up his sleeve. We don't know. He seems to be eager for a showdown with the United States. Then, to top it all off, to round it out, to make me wonder if we're setting up for another major conflict with another country. And it's hard to be on both sides of the issue, but I see things from both angles. I don't want us to get into another conflict. But now that we've moved a third carrier group out there, and it's a strike group, because that's what carrier groups are. They're for offensive capabilities. You can move a massive amount of air units with 3 strike groups. I mean, it's just amazing. We have hundreds and hundreds of planes within striking distance of North Korea now. And Kim Ding Dong doesn't seem to care. You got to start wondering if Kim Ding Dong doesn't have some kind of wink and an eye deal, a little with China, and that this is all for a reason. China has been chasing the United States as far as being a world superpower militarily. And after the Clintons gave them all those secrets in the 90s, and then with all the time passing by, they've been able to develop some pretty sophisticated weaponry. We've got the Russians who are ahead of them and the superpower status. We hear that the United States is the lone superpower. I don't believe that. We may be the mega superpower, but I think China and the Soviet Union, Russia, whichever way you want to call them, because I don't think just because they dropped the name the Soviet Union, they didn't drop the mentality for very long anyways. Vladimir Putin and all. So if you're China, you might want to encourage one of your, allies who's a little bit of a pain in the butt, who doesn't mind barking at the big dog. You might give them the okay, a little wink and an eye. Yeah, go ahead and cause trouble with the U.S. No big deal. They're not going to do anything, and if they do, we got your back, buddy. We got your back. But we're going to oppose you. We're going to say things publicly, but behind the closed doors, we're probably going to encourage you. That's how I'm starting to see it, because China would like to see the United States involved in yet another conflict, distracting us with some other issue, wasting our resources, wasting our military might, using it on another regime that really can't do anything. If we just had the test, so obviously there are people in the military that think like I do. If we just had super sophisticated defensive weapons that would stop any kind of nuclear launch, ballistic missile launch from North Korea, just stop it somehow. Maybe they can hack it on the launching pad. Maybe they can shoot it down. We should be since we are the world's lone superpower and the most technologically advanced country in the world, you'd think we'd have a defense system kind of like a Patriot missile system for nukes or for long-range ballistic missiles. And we did test one out. So as long as you can keep these other countries like, North Korea contained, where they can't strike you, then why even deal with them? You set up that perimeter of defensive weapons, and if they launch, you shoot it out of the air, whatever, and that's it, you're done. You go about your other business. But it looks like we're being drawn into this, into a much larger capacity than just a defensive positioning. Looks like there's going to be some offensive war tactics, maneuvers, if you will, in the near future. And because Kim Ding Dong is a barking dog, he's probably going to try to bite back. He's already barking. He's like that dog right behind the fence. He's like, and instead of the United States just walking by the fence and say, whatever, dude, we just ain't, we won't bug with you. You can bark all you want. We have to go up to the fence and start kicking the fence. All right, keep barking, dog. Keep barking. Kick the fence there. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't understand the tactics. There has been a movement for regime change. That's the new world order. Larger plan is to remove all the opposition so that we can be under one world order. And although Trump at times looks like he opposes the new world order, heading over into Korea doesn't seem to be that far from the actual plan. If you remember, Obama was trying to make the switch to that side of the world with the Navy. They didn't want to have the forces deployed on the European side, they wanted it on the Asian side of the planet. And they were already making that switch. And that forced China to build those islands out there with the little air bases on there so they can, they're like, I don't even want to call, they're like little mini aircraft carriers that are just stationary in the middle of the ocean. You just fly in, fly out. You don't have to put all that money into an aircraft carrier. And if the U.S. blows it up, they're just blowing up sand in a hangar or two and a big long runway. That's it. And knowing the Chinese, they're not going to let it be taken by any foreign adversary. Like World War II when we were island hopping to get us closer and closer to Japan. The Chinese in contemporary times probably have that whole island booby-trapped. So if for some reason they lost it in a battle, if they lost their positioning, they could just blow it up so the U.S. couldn't use it or any other foreign adversary. But it would be the U.S. Because if they were ever going to fight Russia, which I just don't see that happening, they have too much in common between their two countries. If they were ever going to challenge Russia, though, they'd fight through Siberia and, go through Mongolia and all that stuff to get at Russia's heart because of their geography, where they're located. So those islands are there primarily for the United States, in defense of the United States, to protect themselves against the United States, maybe to project power. Because if those are runways that are capable of carrying longer range, aircraft, they could stage long range bombing missions from those islands. And now we're distracted, kicking the fence at the barking dog in North Korea. And we're just kicking the fence instead of ignoring him. Make it so the dog can't run out and bite you. But they don't want to do that. Maybe they do have, some protections against that. We did, like I said, we just tested that defense weapon there to stop interballistic missiles from coming in and hitting the homeland. Maybe this is all a grand plan. This is me just having a little fun thinking here. It's a grand plan to hide the Obama birth certificate. North Korea launches a nuke, hits Hawaii. Now we don't know where the birth certificate is. We can't prove it either way anymore because it's been incinerated permanently. If you're one of those birthers, I don't know if we should be getting involved with this. I understand this Kim Ding Dong's just a complete idiot, and he's insane, and at any moment he could do something extremely nutty, like launch a bunch of missiles. Maybe. But having a third carrier group out there, couldn't you just launch? I mean, that would be easier, just in my eyes. I don't think our carrier groups can move that fast to get out of the way. But couldn't you just launch somewhere, and if they're close enough, hit somewhere in the middle of the two with a nuke, and maybe wipe out 2 carrier fleets or 3 carrier fleets, depending on their proximity to each other? See, we're sending valuable assets out there, and I know this third carrier group's an older carrier. It's not of the more modern variety. And maybe we're setting up very much how Pearl Harbor happened. We had our most advanced ships out at sea while we left the battleships and everything in bay to get wasted, to get hammered. I mean, historians will say, well, we were just lucky. But we knew, if you look at the news articles of the day, they knew an attack was coming. They knew it. So they leave all the old boats in the harbor, the old ships in there to sink, and all their important brand new ships, the aircraft carriers, which now are an old concept if you think about it. That's really a World War II concept, the aircraft carrier. Korean War, the original Korean War concept, you know? So with all these advanced weapons that we are on the verge of displaying in our military, maybe they're just setting them out there and hoping Ding Dong fires off a nuke because he's being provoked. Fires off a nuke, takes out a couple of our carrier groups with a bunch of other little ships that are in the convoy. I mean, I don't know how advanced some of the other destroyers or cruisers or whatever other vessels are part of these groups. But the carrier in itself is a rather old concept. And it wouldn't put it past me, and this is me speculating again, me just going into a deep thought here, conspiratorially maybe, that if you wanted to get rid of these old ships and you didn't want to go through the trouble of decommissioning them, and you know they don't really care about lives no matter what they tell us, they really don't care about lives, you send them out and provoke the little Kim Ding Dong out there to launch on you. And if he takes out a couple carrier groups, not a big sweat. It gives us the reason to go attack them anyways. Which, really, at this point, they're just waiting for a reason to launch on Kim Ding Dong. They just need a legitimate reason to go in and take him out. And they're just waiting on that. And something tells me that opportunity will provide itself in the near future. Got to take a quick break, folks. More on the flip side.
Where do you think you're going?
Hey, man, don't go anywhere, man. The John LeBang Show will be right back.
Are you crazy? Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John LeBang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
So 3.6 degrees is their worry over the next 100 years. 3.6 degrees. It could. It possibly could. Maybe. It possibly could. We could maybe. We could see. We could. Could. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know? Usually in the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and we've seen a lot of the shoulda, woulda, couldas. Usually in those shoulda, woulda, couldas, most of them never was going to be, or never could be. Now they're claiming that all this, the Weather Channel, is going to happen because Donald Trump pulls the U.S. out of the Paris Accords there. Oh, it's all Donald Trump's fault now. The evil Donald Trump. Now the Weather Channel is jumping on Donald Trump just like the rest of the media. And they never tell you that the Earth has experienced higher levels of CO2, higher degrees in temperature change. You know, it's all a propaganda game. And what does this mean? It comes down to money. That's what it comes down to. If the United States doesn't pour in enough money, because money fixes everything. But if the United States doesn't pour in a bunch of money, the world is going to go to hell. The climate's going to fall apart. The climate's going to break apart, fall apart. We're going to have catastrophic this. We could have catastrophic that. We could have more droughts, more rainstorms, more people frying in the sun. Who knows? We don't know. Nobody knows. It's all going to be Donald Trump's fault and the people that voted for him. Those evil people that don't know that climate change is man-made. Well, it's not man-made. It's always happened. It will always happen. There's never been a stable environment on the planet. Sure, there's places that are relatively calm and they don't have to deal with constant weather fluctuations. But there are other parts of the planet that deal with extreme colds, extreme heats. They shift in months of periods, more than 3.6 degrees. I outlined earlier how Michigan can go about 140 degrees in temperature fluctuation in a 6-month period. We have snowstorms, rainstorms, tornadoes. Shoot, if we're lucky, we get an earthquake here and there. You know what? If you're worried about climate change, move to Michigan for 1 year. You know what? Make it 2 years. Because you'll see no 2 years are the same here in Michigan. And you'll change your tune about the climate change. I mean, if you actually take some time to reason with yourself about it and don't believe what they tell you. I mean, how many times did they tell us something, whether it be the news media or the government? How many times have they told us something and it wasn't true? But we believe the mainstream media because they're some kind of official source and because they get their information from the government. It must be true. Unless the government's run by Donald Trump, then nothing is true. I mean, it's a big old joke. They've turned the weather into a political scheme, just like they turned everything else into a political scheme. Another form of divide and conquer. You're having the people that don't want to save the environment versus the people who do want to save the environment. Yet all the time, these people who are preaching this stuff to us are out there putting out so much carbon emissions, it should destroy the world in 1 year. But see, they're allowed to do it because they're the elite. And whatever they do, their carbon is good carbon. Their carbon doesn't hurt anybody. Their carbon doesn't cause global warming. Their carbon doesn't do anything to harm the environment. Only the carbon that comes from the little people. That CO2, little Joe out there in Iowa, Melissa out there in North Dakota, your CO2 is bad, but Barack Hussein Obama's CO2, Al Gore's CO2, whoever else that gets behind this global warming agenda and then goes out there and flies across the planet to do their stupid speeches to a bunch of morons who don't realize that the people that are telling them about how bad they are for being human beings and outputting so much CO2 that it's going to destroy the environment, that these people are the ones polluting 20-fold, 30-fold times the amount that the people that are feeling guilty about it are actually putting out. But whatever. Hey, Joan, you ready for me yet? Yeah, Shady, come on in. All right, then. Been waiting to do this. Really? You're really eager to do a Cooler Uncool tonight? That's right. Been a whole week since I was here last time, you know. Well, me too. I mean, there's a week in between the shows. Yeah, but see, it seems longer for me, you see. You're always talking. So it's like a non-stop John LeBang show. Well, you're right about that. I know anywhere I go, it can sound like you're on the radio. Problem is, most of the places, I can't turn you off. Now, before we get too far, John, remember, we got band practice after the show. I've got to plant the garden, Shady. I got to get out there and do some work. That's what the Cooler Uncool is about. What do you mean? Well, give me the intro and I'll tell you. This hour's Cool or Uncool is John forgetting to plant his garden. And now we're all gonna die of starvation. Well, it's not like any of you would help me, Shady. Listen, I'll help you. I'll tell you. Get out there and do it. Yeah, but none of you go out there and help me. What do you want me to do, John? You want me to pick up a shovel? Maybe a rake? You know I'm old. That'll kill my back. Not to mention my arthritis. You've never mentioned that before. Well, you never mentioned me gardening before. But still, even if you can't help, Leroy doesn't help, Abu doesn't help, nobody helps me. What do you want us to do, John? You're the gardener, Abu's the comic relief, I'm the brains of the operation. I mean, how much else do you want us to do? You've got to do something, you know. No, it seems like I do everything. Will you quit whining to get to the phone calls? Our first call comes from Washington, D.C. Donald, what say you?
So we're getting out, but we will start to negotiate, and we will see if we can make a deal that's fair.
Okay, thanks for your call. You know, we haven't heard from him in a little while. Well, he's kind of been busy, don't you think? That trip to Saudi Arabia and visiting Israel and all that? So much for America first. You know, I was just thinking that. Whatever, John. Up next, we go out to Naples, Florida. Cora, what say you?
Sonny, I got something for you to eat!
What's that, ma'am?
Not you, the other guy!
Shady, she's talking to you. Well, what are you cooking for dinner tonight?
You can eat my sushi!
No thanks. Okay, thanks for your call. Up next, we're going out to Austin, Texas. AJ, what say you?
The New York Times came out and said I was crazy.
Thanks for your call. You know, he hasn't called in a while either. Well, maybe everybody's busy. Yeah, I think everybody's busy, John. What? You're never busy, Shady. I'm busy avoiding work. That's what I'm busy doing. Up next, we're going out to Montreal, Quebec. You're on the John LeBang Show.
Only some idiot would forget to plant his food.
Over to Ottawa, Canada. Gordy, you're up next.
I got food, eh?
Timmy Ho's Donut doesn't count.
Oh, I grew it, eh?
What'd you grow, sir?
A lot of pot, eh? We smoke it up here, eh?
Okay, thanks for your call. Now over to Sanctuary City. Abu, how's it going?
Well, John, I have to say it's very uncool that you forgot to plant a garden. How am I going to eat now? I am getting very hungry, you know.
See, more people think you're stupid, John. You know, I'm sorry, Abu. Everybody seems to be mad at me for it.
Can I sing a song, please?
Oh, God, John, don't let him sing. What song do you want to sing, Abu?
Here, let me show you. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm back on the prowl. I'm on the hunt down after you. I swell in the rain. I ride the camel all the time. I am hungry like the wolf. Yes.
Okay, thanks for your call. You know, that was the first time I actually liked a song he sang. Really, Shady? How come? Because he was mocking you, John. Are we done here? Yeah, we're done. Okay, good. Now don't forget, band practice after the show. No, I've got to do the garden. What, you've waited this long, what's waiting a few more weeks? If I wait a few more weeks, we're not going to have any food. All that means is we just starve earlier. What's the big difference if we starve now or later? Either way, we starve. Well, personally, I'd like to prolong it. You want to prolong starvation? What, are you crazy? I say get it over with. You don't want to drag it out, John. I don't know about you, but I don't like those missed meal cramps. Well, you got a point there. Well, we're going to start practice without you. So hurry up on that garden. I'll do the best I can. Sure you will. Bye. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for yet another 60 minutes of sonic vibrations known as
The John LeBang Show.
I'd like to thank all of our affiliate stations across this fruited plain. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. Thank you all for listening and participating. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, and for some of you, that's in the next hour. This is John LeBang signing off from the Banger Studios.
1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.
All right, fellas, we better get ready and just help John. He needs some help getting this garden going.
Well, my back has been hurting today. I don't know if I can do anything.
Oh, your back is hurting, Uncle Shady?
Damn right.
Well, when did it start hurting, Uncle Shady?
When I find out we got to do gardening, there might be some reaction.
Some reaction to what?
Well, what do you want me to do?
Well, here, you take the hoe.
Don't give him the hoe. He might get the wrong idea.
I don't understand, Uncle Shady.
The hoe he's going to give you is not on any dating site.
Oh, I understand.
Well, that's a first.
Shady, you think you can handle raking?
I don't know. My arthritis is bad, too.
Uncle Shady, I didn't know you had arthritis.
You know, neither did John. but I found out as soon as I heard we're doing work. I think I'm allergic.
Was there anything you can do?
Yeah, well, sure, I'll supervise.
What does that mean, Uncle Shady?
That means I'll watch you guys work, and if you screw up, I'll tell you. Now let's hurry up.